I cannot imagine, Watson, that the reading public would show any enthusiasm over an account of one of my investigations," said Sherlock Holmes. "It might be appropriate matter for a specialized journal. The process by which I examine my data and arrive at my conclusions is purely scientific, and hardly the stuff of popular literature. One might as well pen a romance based upon the measuring of rainfall in a given area over a given span of time. I am an analyst, not a swashbuckler." "I beg to differ, Holmes," was my adamant reply. "While it is true that you are essentially a scientist, you are also a man of action, and, if I may say so, a most fascinating character. I have described for Dr. Doyle some of your habits and, eccentricities, and he is of the opinion that you would go over smashingly as a protagonist." "Ah, yes, the redoubtable Dr. Doyle," Holmes said with just a hint of a sneer. "He is poised to take the literary world by storm, duplicating his spectacular success in the medical field, eh? How fortunate you are to have come under his influence." "Sarcasm does not become you, Holmes," I said sternly, "and you do the man a grave injustice. Doyle is a fine fellow with quite a bit of talent, and it seems an overwhelming reluctance to display it in any way." Holmes had, for reasons I could not fathom, taken a dislike to my friend and colleague, Dr. Arthur Conan Doyle, and all of this without ever having met the man. While it was true that Doyle's medical practice had not been a resounding success, it was hardly necessary to allude to it in such an insulting manner. It was my practice to give Holmes the benefit of every possible doubt, owing to the unique nature of his mind and personality, but his seemingly capricious attitudes could be most trying. Though he prided himself on being a disciple of reason, he frequently, and for reasons known only to himself, refused to listen to it. "Really, Holmes," I said, "this is unworthy of you. You do not know him, and I cannot imagine what you have against him. I would be grateful if you would provide me with one of your logical, point-by-point explanations of the position you have taken with regard to him, because, I confess, I am baffled." Holmes laughed and waved a hand. "I have nothing against him as such," he said, "but neither do I have anything for him. He strikes me as a man bent on making a name for himself, and none too particular about how he does it. In that way he is, I suppose, my antithesis. I live for the work I do, and any fame I might achieve as a consequence is more annoyance than reward. I should much prefer to toil in obscurity and perfect my craft without distractions. Detection is, or ought to be, an exact science and should be treated in the same cold, unemotional manner." I scoffed at this. As I have mentioned elsewhere, Holmes had a broad streak of vanity in his character, and he delighted in the awe and admiration his abilities stirred in those around him. I did not know whether he intended me to take seriously his protestations to the contrary, or if he was indulging in a bit of ironic, self-deprecating humor. Either way, I had reached my limit. "Where have you come by all this information, Holmes?" I asked. "None of it constitutes a state secret, Watson. I merely went places and asked questions." "You spied upon him?" "Watson, really?" "I made inquiries." "Very well, then. And you were unimpressed with what you learned?"